Thank you, Mark and Robin, and Margaret, and everyone, Joyce, everyone here for your invitation. It's always a pleasure to see you all. And thank you, Robin, for that, if I may say so, very nice and gracious introduction. Thank you. And I'd like to really begin my remarks by expressing on this occasion my sympathies and my best wishes to Mother Moon in particular, because irrespective of the broader and deeper things that Father Moon may have meant to her and to the movement that he founded and to other people in this room, Mother Moon not only lost that person, but she lost her lifelong companion and the mother of her children. And we must always remember that no matter how exalted anyone's position in life is, that this is something that when it comes to any of us, to have that kind of loss touches us very deeply. And so I would like to very sincerely, once again on this occasion, offer my condolences in particular to Mother Moon on the very particular loss that she suffered 10 years ago, and which I don't doubt for one moment she continues to feel probably every day. I wanted to talk a little bit about Father and Mother Moon's visit to Pyongyang just over 30 years ago now, which as Robin has introduced and intimated, although my thunder has perhaps been a little bit stolen by having listened extensively to Mike Pompeo. I certainly don't agree with everything that Mike Pompeo says, but it was certainly very interesting to hear what he had to say, and it's extremely important that a person, with that level and experience continues to be engaged in this process. Perhaps people don't know, but before President Trump and Kim Jong-un met, Mike Pompeo had made several visits to Pyongyang. I think the latter one was public, but previously, as before he was Secretary of State, as head of the CIA, he'd also made, I think, at least 2 visits to Pyongyang, which were private and secret at that time. But on all of those occasions, he met and spoke with Kim Jong-un and dined with him. So he brings, whether one agrees with him or not, he brings a great deal of experience and insight to this situation, which is very valuable to have involved. And so just a little bit of my own, much more peripheral and insignificant insight into this. What I would like to say is that the continued division of Korea after more than 70 decades is the most significant, or perhaps the only real unfinished business of World War II. And that's, World War II is increasingly something that happened before any of us were born. So, it is such a long-standing, you could say, scar and tragedy on world politics. And because of this, I think that in a very real sense, one can say that the unification of Korea means the unification of the world, both because the part reflects the whole and because it embodies the continued division that exists. That if the Korean people can reunite, it means that no matter how difficult the fundamental divisions dividing people can be overcome, in my opinion anyway. And I think this is part of the huge significance of the visit that Father and Mother Moon made, as I said, and as we all know, just over a little more than 30 years ago. And that visit, again, as Mike Pompeo really made clear, that visit was something that caught the imagination of the world. And it certainly caught my imagination. It wasn't. It was. This relationship now between the unification movement and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is perhaps something that nowadays, after 3 decades, people have sort of got used to in a way. But it was to, if you weren't following these things at the time, I can tell you it was really sensational. And, because, as we've heard, Father Moon, a lifelong anti-communist, was reaching out to his old adversary and was prepared to sit with him and to make peace, to find a way forward. And at the time of Father Moon's visit, I talked to North Korean diplomats in Paris about it. At that time, there was no diplomatic representation of North Korea in this country. So if you had any dealings with them at all, it was through Paris. So I talked with the diplomats in Paris. They're sort of saying, well, tell me what's going on here, please. And part of the reply I got was very interesting. And one of them said, well, we don't really know, but we think that as people get older, they tend to think more of their native place. That was one of the things that was said. And I think that this feeling, I don't discount it at all. This feeling is something that's also captured in a famous Korean song. Well, it's certainly famous in North Korea. I don't know if it's famous in South Korea, but there's a famous Korean song called Nostalgia in the original and literal meaning of that word, of longing for one's native place. And this is a song that President Kim Il-sung himself liked to sing. And now members of the unification movement, and again, Mike Pompeo reflected some of this, often speak of Father and Mother Moon visiting Pyongyang at the risk of their lives. And considering the whole situation and the background and the history, it's a sentiment and a view that I can perfectly well understand. But we also have a famous saying in English, and I'm sure it's a saying in other countries, maybe in other cultures as well, that it takes 2 to tango. And so I believe that both Father Moon and President Kim Il-sung can be said to have displayed magnanimity and farsightedness in what they did when they sat together, and also the belief that blood is indeed thicker than water, both for the Korean nation, but also for the wider human family as a whole. That what it brings us together is far more important than other material things. And Father Moon and his followers, the members of his movement, have been very true and faithful to the promises that Father Moon made to Kim Il-sung when they met at the end of 1991, faithful to the work of striving always for peace, of promoting international political engagement. That's really a great theme of the footage that we've seen earlier this evening, both that which Mark showed and which was also shown at the beginning about the conference that took place in Seoul earlier this year. But also, for example, at the time of President Kim Il-sung's 80th birthday, which was in 1992, and Father Moon sent the delegation from the Washington Times, who had the interview with Kim Il-sung. He also sent a delegation from the Summit Council for World Peace, made up with people like as I remember, former president of Costa Rica, former Governor General of Canada, and they spoke with Kim Il-sung and talked about the things that they could motivate their country to do to promote reconciliation, peace, and development. And so mentioning development, that's the other promise that Father Moon and his movement have kept, that of extending economic cooperation to North Korea without any thought of gain or profit, but out of compatriotic feelings and human feelings. And they've extended this economic cooperation in a whole number of areas, let's just say from hotel management to car manufacture, being 2 that I know about. But there's also been a sense of obligation from both sides that has continued since that epoch-making visit of December 1991. When President Kim Il-sung passed away in July 1994, Father Moon sent his emissary to the funeral ceremony for Kim Il-sung, even though the government in South Korea at that time actually tried by all means to prevent people from the South from going to Pyongyang on that occasion. So yes, you can say that Father and Mother Moon went to Pyongyang at the risk of their lives, but Father Moon's emissary went to Kim Il-sung's funeral at the risk of being imprisoned when he would return home to South Korea. So this is very important, I think. And we also know, and this continues, we know, I read in the Kyodo News Agency of Japan, that the present leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, sent his own appreciation and sympathies to Mother Moon on this 10th anniversary. And these things are, I think, important because of the importance that Korean people attach to family and to that kind of fidelity, but also because they represent in microcosm the kind of reconciliation of the heart and the mind that is needed to overcome what can seem to be really intractable problems. So, in a word, what I'd like to conclude by saying is that we can see from this whole history that the road to peace needs courage, it needs vision, it needs magnanimity, it needs the ability to forgive on both sides, and it needs broad-mindedness. I believe that history will surely record Father Moon's contribution to peace, epitomized by this icebreaking visit to Pyongyang 30 years ago, with great respect and honor. And those are the remarks I'd like to make. Thank you once again. It's always nice to be in Lancaster Gate.